around and disregard it. Sweep you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started, it's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Sweep you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, and this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back. Yeah.
Ooh, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today, huh? Happy bump day to everybody. You watched enough wrestling over the weekend? Look, man, I hear you. Everybody's saying it. Like, everybody's in my DMs. Everybody's messaging me like the hardest part of the ring. Look, I watched a lot of wrestling over the weekend. And Clash at the Castle, NXT Worlds Collide, AEW All Out. The media scrum after All Out. Like, there's just so much wrestling, so much drama, so many great matches and storylines and just new directions for wrestling. So much is up in the air, but the hardest part of the ring, I gotta tell you, no one brought out a slip and slide in a match. Well, I have got great news for all of you who have been telling me this. Progress Chapter 22 is going to satisfy that desire for you. So don't you worry, you stick here and I'll bring it to you. That's a thing. No tables, but a lubed up slip and slide. And a lot of ass cheek on this show. So not by me, but of the wrestlers involved. So hopefully that doesn't disappoint anybody. But yes, Progress Chapter 22. We're here at the end of 2015, kind of entering a new era for Progress, it seems like, because we are still pretty fresh off the heels off of Jimmy Havoc losing his title to Will Ospreay at Chapter 20. And those first 20 chapters really felt like the Jimmy Havoc era. Like he was the people were coming to see him. Let's be honest. Like he was a dick, a tremendous heel, and just a dastardly world champion. And that was a really strong storyline. A lot of people are telling me that it's the best that Progress ever did, which I can see. But that remains to be seen by me. We're entering a new era here, and Jimmy Havoc is actually not on this show at all, which I think this might be the first ever chapter where that is the case. Maybe like I don't know if he was on chapter 1, maybe some of the first couple chapters, but no Jimmy Havoc here. But they're building new heels, it seems like. It seems like the goal of this show. Marty Scurll, if you remember at chapter 21, kicked Chris Travis in the stomach, and Chris Travis, his stomach cancer returned a few weeks after. So I don't know if that's is that the message we're trying to get across? I don't know. But Marty had no remorse, I guess, is how I'll put it. So he clearly is on the rise as to being the next top heel, at least in my estimation. You also have The Origin, which is a kind of a ragtag group of folks. They add a new member on this show, and we'll get into that. The Origin's a big part of the show as well. A lot of this revolves around building up that faction, and I think they do an okay job at that. But we have a lot to talk about that. We'll just say that. And you got some comedy, you got some violence, you got some geezers. Listen, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, and you're a fan of the British Office, The Office, but the British version, for people who aren't aware. If they just know Jim and Pam, they don't know that this originated in Europe. If you're a fan of the British Office and Ricky Gervais and all that stuff, this might not be the episode for you because we shit on it a lot. I'll let it speak for itself, but I have no apologies. So anyways, yeah, we have Will Ospreay defending against Paul Robinson in the main event, as was set up at the last chapter. Mark Haskins versus Tommaso Ciampa might be my match of the night. A lot of really good stuff there. Just good stuff all around, as per usual with Progress Wrestling. But I'm not here alone. Joined today by the Sigdaddy himself, Skylar from Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show. You can find this show wherever you listen to podcasts. Really entertaining show over there by Skylar. He talks a lot. He talks some old school stuff, talks some new school stuff, some topical stuff, just kind of evergreen topics. He has a good variety over there. Really entertaining guy, and has guests and stuff like that. I was even on a show a while ago. We covered WrestleMania 28, which is a rootin' tootin' good time, talking about Maria Menounos shitting her pants or whatever the hell happened there. But go check that out, why don't you, if you haven't already. But go check out Skylar at Sigdaddy Wrestle on Twitter. Like I said, wherever you listen to podcasts, all of his info in the description below. Go check him out. Check me out, why don't you, as well. Apronbump.com for all my full episodes. If you're just stumbling upon here, if you're like, who is this hardest part of the ring fella? What is Progress Wrestling? I sure would. I like the cut of this guy's jib. I would sure like to listen to him talk about the progress some more. Well, let me tell you, hypothetical listener that probably doesn't exist, you can go to apronbump.com and you can go up to the episodes tab at the top and you can select any promotion, any era of wrestling you want. I cover, a wide variety of stuff, but you can select Progress Wrestling and it will take you all the way to the beginning. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. You know how to count all the way up to here, chapter 22, chronologically covering all this stuff. I'm living through it as I'm talking about it. I'm not caught up. I'm watching all this stuff for the first time, so it's you're getting the first. Dog just getting murdered outside. You're getting my first reaction to all this stuff. So do that if you want. Progress is a good time. A lot of silliness and but a lot of familiar faces, a lot of great matches, and some great storylines and stuff. And that continues on this show. So let's get to it, why don't we? Progress Wrestling, Chapter 22, with myself and Skylar from Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show.
Been to Vegas recently.
Oh, shit. How was that?
Oh, that was... we ran up a $1,300 pool bill at one point, so...
Like billiards?
No, like pool, like actual, like at the pool.
Oh, okay. Oh, like buying drinks at the pool. Okay. It's like, what you buying floaties or something?
No. But we were filled up a cooler like 3 times.
Nice. I mean, while you're there, it's the only way to do it.
Yeah, it was my friend's bachelor party, so I...
Ooh. Did you fuck, what's the Hangover quote? Like, bring out the wolves or something, wolf pack.
Yeah, the wolf pack. Well, we had about a 10-man wolf pack at this thing.
That's a pretty big wolf pack. As far as wolf packs go, I mean, it's not as big as the WCW wolf pack, but...
No. Well, the NWO as a whole was a pretty big one, but yeah.
I guess the wolf pack. How many people were in the wolf pack? It might have been less than 10.
There was like Conan, Nash, Hall... I can't remember all of them. Maybe was Waltman in there at one point, I think. Yeah.
Probably.
Was 6 or whatever the heck his name was.
Virgil might have slipped in there for a second. It was the whole thing.
Well, what was his saying? Is it man meat or something?
Who?
Virgil.
He has a lot
I
of
don't
sayings.
know. He had some weird ass sayings.
I can't keep up with things Virgil says, man.
He's like what was the Olive Garden breadsticks joke he made with Chris Jericho that one time? Endless.
Right. It's just an endless pit of content, this Virgil. Oh man. Well, no Virgil on this show, but there's other stuff, I guess. Did you get a chance to finish the show?
Yes, I did.
Did you well, I guess first of all, have you ever seen a Progress show before this one?
No, I have not, and I certainly have to say it's a different style than I'm used to.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like the show was like it felt like two different shows and within a show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an experience for sure. I mean, because they show like the whole intro, they do like the banter in between the matches and all that stuff. It's definitely it has a unique feel to it for sure. I mean, do you watch NXT UK at all, or did you? I guess.
I only caught like very little of it if I ever did. It was very rare occasion I'd watch. I don't even think I honestly thinking about it, I didn't really watch it hardly. I tried to watch like was it Mako Satomura's one of her matches there?
Yeah.
Because now she's on regular NXT, so
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody either got fired or is going to be on regular NXT.
and there's a lot of people from this show that were on NXT UK now are gone.
Yeah, I mean, damn near. I mean, most of the show is either people that are on WWE or AEW. There's a few that aren't, I guess, which I guess you got an introduction to some of them. But yeah, I guess other than that, overall, before we like dive into the matches and stuff, overall thoughts on what you witnessed here at Chapter 22?
Okay, so yeah, so the first half of the show, I was like, okay, and then once the second half going, like, there was a definitive turning point. I could tell where everything just started to get really serious. It was the middle of the Ciampa Haskins match. And then everything from there I felt like the show made a turn, and then it just was just focused completely on the wrestling and less on the comedy bits of it.
Yeah, comedy is generally a pretty big piece of these Progress shows. I would say this chapter maybe a little more heavy than usual. Like, even
because I felt like it was like 3.5 matches that were comedy.
Yeah, and I actually have thoughts on that when we'll get into it. As far as like comedy and how the show is paced and all that. But got a question for you. Do you watch The Office?
A little bit. Mostly my family watches. I've never watched it all the way through, but I always catch like random episodes and such. And
right.
I noticed they did a little spoof at the beginning of this one.
Yeah, they did a spoof of the British Office, which I don't know if have you caught that version at all?
I may have watched like a half of an episode before.
Dude, I tried it, and look, I know I have a lot of British listeners, or some at least. The British Office is hot garbage. It is not, maybe, I don't know, maybe it just doesn't translate to me, but they did a spoof here. It was Tom Irvin and Sebastian, who we see later in the show. The Geezers is their tag team name. I'm going to tell you, I really couldn't make out a lot of what they were saying. I mean, it was a pre-recorded,
I
right?
had no idea.
Not just me, right?
Like, what is this? I'm so confused on I didn't know the characters. I eventually figured it out later on, but I was sitting there like, what the hell is this about? I'm so confused.
Let me tell you this. I watched every chapter up to this point, and I was also confused. So don't feel bad about that. Because it's the same thing with the British Office, like the real version. I feel like it's just a bunch of mumbling and jokes that aren't jokes, but people laugh. I don't know. Again, maybe it just doesn't translate to me.
It's different cultures anyway, so everyone has a different sense of humor. So like British sense of humor is completely different from the American style probably sense of humor. And so
yes.
I watched this and I just was like, I don't understand what's going on here. And let's just get the show started, okay?
Just had to bring it up just to let everybody know that the British Office fucking sucks. Anyways. Jim and Pam. All
Pam. Dwight.
There we go.
Dwight.
Yeah.
Dwight.
So
hardworking and jackhammer guys.
Yes, exactly. But now we get to the wrestling, kinda. We got Dave Mastiff versus Jack Gallagher to open the show here. So you've never seen any of these Progress shows, but you're diving right into all of the Progress tropes and just the general environment of these shows. A lot of chanting from the crowd, a lot of crowd participation. We get a Nigel Thornberry chant.
I did not notice that one.
Yeah, that was one of the only ones I caught. This Jack Gallagher, I guess he has the mustache and the small body. And
all right. So you're saying Nigel Thornberry. Well, there's a song. I'm just gonna get off to a quick tangent here. It's called "Smang It Girl," and it mentions the Wild Thornberries in it. It is the most indie music video. It's like a rap song by Young Humma.
What's it called again?
"Smang It Girl."
I'll give it a listen. Maybe we'll just make it a bed underneath our episode here, just in the background.
It is one of the greatest songs you've never heard of.
Have you heard the Nigel Thornberry like remixes of songs? It'll be like it'll be like Down with the Sickness, and it'll be like the beginning part of the song, and then when it gets to the ooh ah, it's ooh wow, like it's like Nigel Thornberry's. It's the most hilarious shit. It's as like Adele songs and Taylor Swift songs, and it'll be like, so call me blah, so it's gosh, I don't know if it translates me doing it, but go YouTube it. It's a good listen.
And I got to give you a shout out, as I saw on TikTok your hardcore Holly impressions. God, those are great.
I hate that's the thing that catches on.
That's some of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. I swear. The cat with your cats. Oh my god!
I appreciate that.
If you haven't already, check that out. Oh my gosh!
TikTok at Apron Bump. Yeah, it was, I don't know why that's the thing people latch onto, but it's an easy thing to do. You literally just do anything and put your hands by your
stand there.
Endless content. Man, well, no hardcore Holly in this match, unfortunately, but we got Dave Mastiff and Jack Gallagher. Honestly, the match itself isn't really like important here. You got Jack Gallagher, who's way smaller than Dave Mastiff. He's like rolling to evade Dave, and the ref does a roll, Dave does a roll. They're all rolling all over the place. It's a lot of banter and shenanigans.
It reminds me of like a Colt Cabana match in America.
Yeah, or a Danhausen, Orange Cassidy, like that kind of style. Very banter heavy, as they say. But there is one part where Dave has Jack down on his back, and the spot where the guy in the bottom bridges up and stands on his neck, and then the other guy like jumps on him, and then he holds him up with his neck. Well, Jack fucking Gallagher, who I don't know, is probably like 150, is doing it with Dave Mastiff, who's, they said 19 stone. I don't know how many.
He's pushing like 300 plus pounds here.
Yeah, easy. At least. So that was super impressive. Gallagher holding him up with his neck.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say this: the facial hair in this match was maybe not the greatest thing I've ever seen, but the facial hair in this match was on point.
Yeah.
Mustache versus the wondrous beard.
Well, where do you lean as far as like, do you go more curly mustache or big beard?
I'd rather big beard. I like big beard better. I can't do the mustache. I can't. I've never been one of those guys.
Right. You see, the mustache is my strong suit, but I can't I hate growing it out because it like gets in your mouth and shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, mine looks like, when I have a mustache, I had one in college. It looks like I own an ice cream van.
Not an ice cream truck, an ice cream van.
It's the ice cream van.
You're giving
So yeah, a very trustworthy person. So
I guess something like that. Well, the story here is Zach Gibson comes out towards the end of this match. Now, Zach Gibson is a part of the Origin faction. The Origin, which we'll see them later in the show, is Nathan Cruz, Zach Gibson, Ligero. It's just those three at this point. Zach Gibson sees all the shenanigans and the tomfoolery happening, and he's like, "Hey, you were two of the best wrestlers in the world, but you're just making a joke of this whole thing." And the Origin, like, their whole thing is that they're sick of like the comedy, the laughs, the good times that Progress usually brings them, and they're more about the serious wrestling. But yeah, so Zach Gibson comes out, calls the fans a bunch of hipster cunts, and tells, which, I mean, it's not the farthest thing from the truth, but Dave and Jack are both looking at him, and Dave Mastiff headbutts Jack Gallagher in the back of the head and locks in a guillotine and makes Gallagher pass out, gets the win with the distraction from Zach Gibson. And it's like, was Mastiff a part of the origin now? What's the deal? Now Mastiff grabs a mic, cuts a promo on how he hates London, how he hates the fans, and he's a Progress original. And he's Progress. The origin is Progress. The fans are not Progress. And yeah, so I guess we have Mastiff joining this faction, and we'll see them later in the show. But yeah,
Mastiff pulled double duty here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the first duty was a lot of rolling and twiddling.
To be fully honest, this match was a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, no, it was purely to set up this angle.
It was literally, the first half was them just goofing around. And the second half was Gibson cutting a promo and then the turn. And then the one thing about the guillotine I didn't like was Gallagher was passed out like in 2 seconds.
Well, Dave Mastiff's a big boy, you see.
I don't think guillotines put you out that quick. I've been put in plenty of guillotines.
Look, I don't want to know your kinks.
Not like that. No, not in the bedroom.
What you do behind closed doors is not my business.
Sigdaddy's wrestling show after dark. Brand new series coming up. No, never mind.
It's behind the paywall though. So
yeah, you gotta pay $9.99 at least.
Well, that's a steal to see you choke jerk. Anyways, next match. Speaking of masturbate, we got Tyler Bate. Come on now, folks. The Natural Progression Series. It's a quarterfinal match. We got the debuting Tyler Bate versus Pastor William Ever. So, I don't know, you may have...
Music choices were good.
Dude, Tyler Bate coming out the sledgehammer. 18-year-old thick-legged Tyler Bate coming out here, man.
Gosh, yeah, boy, he was thick. Like, if I could have those legs, I wish I had those legs. It's like, can you just give me part of your legs, please?
Like, to be your legs, or do you just want his legs?
I either want to just have his leg as a lamp, like in a Christmas Story.
Okay, that's
Tyler Bate lamp.
A little psychotic. Okay, let's take a turn. But anyways, wrestling. So the Natural Progression Series is it's kind of like the breakout tournament in NXT. It's generally newer guys, less exposed guys that get a chance to shine here, which is weird to say about Tyler Bate in this instance, but I guess he is only 18. So it's crazy because I know when he debuted in WWE, he was like 19. So I didn't realize we're so close to that. I guess we're like a year away from the initial NXT UK tournament, which I guess they really didn't start the brand until the next year. So I guess it makes sense. But
and he was the inaugural NXT UK champion, if I remember right.
Inaugural and last. So good stuff. Good stuff there.
We got a Pastor Bate or Masturbate chance here.
That was when I first heard it, I was like, oh, Masturbate, of course. Like how many times does he get this? But it was Pastor Bate. This is Pastor William Ever, Tyler Bate. It's kind of funny. That was pretty clever.
Personal Jesus was a good choice too.
Oh yeah, dude. Jesus is over in this ballroom here. Man, they love them some well, half of them, because half of them were chanting Jesus sucks, but which is just a
he was saving people on the way to the ring too.
They're doing a little like
he'd like touch him and he's like, oh yeah.
Couldn't do that today, probably. But yeah, fun chain wrestling and stuff. I mean, you could tell right away, like, the charisma of Tyler Bate. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just like how he moves, how he interacts with the crowd, like his strength, his speed. Like, I don't know. Did you sense it here that he was going to be, I guess you know in hindsight, but.
Yeah, in hindsight, but I felt like I'm watching it. I'm like, I get it. I get it. Like that drop kick nip up. Damn, that was smooth.
Yeah.
That was. He also had like a diving uppercut, and I dare say it could have been better than Cesaro's or Claudio's.
Them's fighting words, but
yeah, I don't want to get uppercutted by Claudio because
he's listening to this. But yeah, it's a fun match. There's not a lot of substance to this. It was kind of more just an introduction to Tyler Bate and just a way to further Bill Ever here. So Tyler kind of has the advantage in the beginning with all the chain wrestling and stuff. He's kind of showing off his offense, but then the pastor makes a comeback, goes for the Last Supper, which is a cross power bomb. Do you get it? And because he's Jesus.
Lots of Jesus references here.
Yeah. Tyler Bate picks him up for the mustache ride, which is, I believe that was the airplane spin, right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Well, there's also mustache ride in other ways, but
there is, yeah.
But yeah, this ride was very, very spinny.
Yeah, no, it was not the kind of mustache ride I prefer, but to each their own. To each their own. Tyler Bate goes for a moonsault, but misses, and then Believer hits the clothesline from heaven for the win, and commentary damn near blows my eardrums out.
Yes. Oh my god!
I should not have been wearing headphones watching this.
Oh my gosh, dude! I just figured this out. I might be the biggest dumbass on planet Earth. Bill Ever, I didn't realize that meant believer.
So somebody, I had a guest on that actually told me that, and I didn't put the two and two together either. So you're not the only one. I might still today not have realized it had they not told me. So yeah, it's pretty clever, right? Bill Ever.
Yes, but that clothesline was good shit.
I mean, it was all the way from heaven, so you gotta figure it's gotta be fairly strong, right?
Well, yeah, it's not the JBL's from hell, so that's
yeah, no, that's a completely different move. Not even close.
Yeah.
But then so Pastor William Ever wins, moves on to the semifinals. But Bate gets like a standing ovation, and even Jim Smallman, who I don't know if you gathered this or not, he's one of the co-owners of Progress, and he's doing all the introductions and stuff like that. But he takes the time to grab the mic and say that Tyler Bate is one of the most talented men he's ever seen, and that he has a hell of a future, which spot on there, Jimmy.
Like, yeah, I was impressed. I was like, okay, I can see why this guy is going to have a bright future ahead of him. Cause you could see, like you were saying with the charisma and everything, you could just, he had that, was it that intangible factor or whatever you want to call it? Like you just felt he had it.
Yeah, for sure.
He just had a unique look and everything. It's like there was no like anything like super like pizzazzy or whatever about him. He was just solid everywhere.
Yeah, he has like an old school look, like just how he's proportioned, but he also has like the modern style to it, and he just has like a likable presence too. I don't know what it is, but it's panned out for him so far. So hopefully he continues, because now that he's in NXT US, hopefully they don't just drop him after they unify the titles, because he has he could be a major babyface if they let him. So
I have hope with Triple H in charge. So
yeah, for sure. It's kind of bummed that they let Tyler or Trent Seven go, because I feel like if anything else, they could have attacked. I know they were feuding on NXT UK, but they could have brought them back together, be a team, or even brought that feud over to the NXT. But
they could have used them on the main roster, to be honest.
Yeah, a long time ago they could have.
Like they like the tag depth on the main roster is so bad still that they need to probably bring somebody up.
Yeah,
the Usos aren't getting beat anytime soon, it feels like. So,
well, they're slowly rebuilding. You got like Maximum Male Models and Los Lotharios, like Hit Row and Street Profits. Like they're all getting screen time at least, so they're doing a little something. But I agree.
And then we got Gargano back too, so that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, maybe WWE could use the geezers, right?
No.
What are your thoughts on Sebastian and Tom Irvin, the geezers?
I didn't find them that funny.
Are they annoying? I was annoyed by them.
It was just stupid stuff the whole match. Literally, this was
what
the
was
dumbest.
Stupid about it?
Everything. Like it was just a lot of the slip and slide part, and then the Windsor's moon, full moon, the eclipse was funny for like 10 seconds, and then I'm like, can you just get his pants pulled up, please?
Yeah, at some point it's sexual assault.
I don't need to see this for this long. I am permanently scarred by the paleness. And I'm pale. I'm a pale person.
Yeah.
And that was bothering me even.
It was just not a good ass. That's all I gotta say. But we're just kind of just jumping into it. But to get to that ass, see, we'll start at the end and work our way back. So first of all, the match is the Geezers versus the team of Rampage Brown and Jonathan Windsor. So, sorry, how dare I? Lord Jonathan Windsor II. So originally it was going to be Rampage and Martin Kirby, but Martin Kirby was unable to be there for whatever reason. So he was replaced last minute with Jonathan Windsor, who I guess is like a trainer. So he was just there. He's like, hey, put on your stupid velvet tights and go out there.
Yeah, it had to be like velvet or something. I thought it was like suede or almost or something like that. I'm like, what is this?
Do you know those like drawstring bags that like you put dice in and stuff? It's like
oh yeah, those. Yeah.
Or like Crown Royal bottles, I think, come in them too. Yeah, it's like what he was wearing.
It looked like that. It's like, okay, give me a bottle of Crown Royal and I'm gonna make those my tights.
I'm gonna put my balls in them. Yeah.
It'd probably be pleasant, pretty comfortable.
That's actually a damn good point. He was probably feeling pretty nice out there. Getting a lot of air to his ass, that's for sure. So
there was almost too much ass shown.
That's arguably way too much ass.
It was getting borderline. I'm like, okay, I'm about to see something I don't want to see probably.
Oh, there was at least a quarter taint in there. It was brutal. But first of all, so the Geezers come out. They're still dressed up in their getup from the opening skit with The Office. Tom Irvin's out there, I guess, dressed as David Brent, who is the main character of The Office. And he's riding an emu.
I didn't know what it was until they said it on commentary.
I thought it was a duck, but then people started chanting
it was a duck
emu.
or something.
I felt like a real idiot. So Tom Irvin gets in there. So it's like it's like a costume where it's like he puts it on, but there's like little legs at the side, so it looks like a guy's riding an emu. It's fun. We're having fun. He gets in there, he takes the little leg and super kicks Jim Smallman with it. Smallman no-sells it. And let's see here. I'm just gonna read my notes here.
The officials took it away from him. He's like, you gotta take it off now.
Well, they let him wrestle in it for a little bit. I think it just got carried away at some point.
Well, use the beak.
Yeah, that's an inanimate object, a foreign object. Can't have that. This is proper wrestling. We are in Europe. We're proper over here.
We're making progress, okay?
Yes. So you get it. You're catching on. So Tom's on the apron, still dressed as the emu. He's dancing. Waddles over to Jonathan Windsor. It's like, hey, what are you wearing? You look silly. It's funny because he looks silly as well. Sebastian goes for a roll up and pulls Windsor's tights down, so his whole asshole is showing. Gives him a chop on the ass. And then Windsor refuses to pull his trunks up, so his cottage cheese ass is just, it's like not like obese, but it's like just not like, I don't want to see this, you know?
Dad bod.
Yeah, it's like a normal guy. It's like probably what my ass looks like, you know?
Okay. Well, you see your own ass, so you would know.
I do. I stay looking at my own ass. You're right.
You're an ass man. Billy Ass would approve.
Yeah. Scissor me, daddy ass, as the kids say. So speaking of scissoring, we got an emu attack from the emu onto Jonathan Windsor. And then the ref makes Tom take off the emu. And then Windsor, this dastardly son of a bitch, stomps the head of the emu. Commentary screaming, the crowd screaming. He's just murdered this emu.
I'm just rolling my eyes the whole time.
You're like, oh, Progress Wrestling. I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of good wrestling on this show, and then you have emus getting stomped. Well, now the fighting starts, kinda. Rampage. So the whole dynamic is Rampage Brown. He's like one of the most beloved wrestlers on the roster. Big powerhouse guy. Jonathan Windsor is this dickhead, like almost like a Regal kind of character. He's very snooty and all that shit. They don't want to team together. Windsor doesn't want to tag in Rampage. Rampage is just kind of like chilling on the apron. The geezers do the waza headbutt that they call the copyright infringement driver, which I think is fun. And but instead of getting the tables, what do they get, Skylar?
The slip and slide.
That's right, the slip and slide. Get the slip and slide. So they go into the ring, they pull out the slip and slide, they unroll it like diagonally across the ring, and Rampage gets tagged in, but he gets tied up in the slip and slide, and I guess Windsor tags himself back in eventually. He berates Rampage. He's like, "What are you doing?" And then Rampage just clotheslines the shit out of him and walks away. Or he doesn't walk away, he kind of just gets out of the ring. Tom Irvin then lubes up the slip and slide, and then he tries to get Rampage to slide on it because they have Jonathan Windsor beaten in the corner on his ass, and they're trying to get Rampage to slide into Windsor, but Rampage grabs Tom, throws him headfirst into the balls of Jonathan Windsor. That's what I think about that.
That better make the cut.
Or live, pal. So Windsor's balls get obliterated by the head of Tom Irvin. Super kick by Sebastian. Stunner by Tom Irvin. Double pin for the win. The geezers get the win. 4 stars, 5 stars. What do you think about this one?
Let's see. Well, they said 5 snowflakes.
Mm.
But what would I would give it slightly above Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Halloween Havoc 98.
Yeah, I mean,
-3.
This had entertainment value to it in some ways.
I would still say -3.
I do love a good slip and slide on a wrestling match.
Dude, that was funny. That was funny.
Hilarious.
Windsor's ass out for like the first 10 seconds was okay, but then it became like a minute, and this felt like 3 minutes, and
at some point it's like, okay, guy, we get it.
The sight's burned into my head forever now.
You're welcome. Maybe I'll make the thumbnail for this episode. We'll see.
Jonathan Windsor, was it Jonathan Windsor? Yeah, Jonathan Windsor's ass.
Lord Jonathan Windsor.
Lord Jonathan Windsor. God damn it. The third, 11th son of Lord.
Is that a Game of Thrones character?
I don't know.
House Targaryen. So now we got, kind of some wrestling. Eventually we get some wrestling in this next match. So we got Tommaso Ciampa versus Mark Haskins. So apparently Ciampa's already appeared like in the Dusty Cup in NXT. I don't know if he's has an exclusive contract yet. But he mentions that he's with WWE at this point. So I guess he's on his way out if he's not already there.
He's still actually, if I remember right, if history serves me right here, because I remember I have a PWG Battle of Los Angeles DVD Blu-ray, and Ciampa wrestled on that one in 2016.
Okay, yeah, this is November of 2015, I believe. So
I think that was like one of his last appearances because he was on PWG. He was doing all this WWE-ish stuff with doing the pedigree and all that jazz.
And he kind of pulled out a little bit of that in this match too. I don't know, because we've had a lot of comedy on this show, to say the least. I thought it was weird that they went the comedy route in this match too, at least in the beginning. Did you?
I thought they should have kicked all ass, like just go from the jump.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the majority of the match is very good, but it's weird. But I'm wondering if that was the intention, because Ciampa was because Mark Haskins. I don't know how familiar you are with Mark Haskins.
I watched a little bit of him in Ring of Honor, but
yeah, he's very bare bones. He's no nonsense kind of guy, mixed martial arts kind of guy, and not a lot of the shenanigans are usually in his matches, at least on his part. Tommaso Ciampa's in there. He's running around the ring. He's getting the crowd to do the wave. He's trying to kip up because Haskins, they're chain wrestling, and Haskins kips up, and Ciampa's gee, I could do that too, but he like can't, and then he like gets Haskins and the ref to help him up. So there's like a lot of shenanigans in the beginning of the match. Arguably too much.
800 rope breaks.
Yeah. What was like Ciampa would like offer up his arm for a hammerlock, and then he would grab the rope immediately. Like he's making a mockery of the whole thing. And there's actually a "We Want Wrestling" chant at some point. So I think even the crowd was getting annoyed at this point. Did you catch that or not?
Yeah, I didn't notice that, but it was like the first 10 minutes was comedy almost.
Yeah. Yeah, like
and this is the longest match of the night.
Was it? Yeah, I believe that. I would argue I'm kind of shitting on it. It sounds like I am, but this might ultimately be my match of the night, this one.
At this point, for sure it was. Well, it wasn't. There wasn't much to live up to beforehand.
Yeah.
But no, this one was, I felt like once they got out of the comedy stuff, they really kicked it into high gear, and then Ciampa turning heel kind of mid-match.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of like I said, I don't know if that was the intention or if that's just kind of how, because like I said, like Ciampa's being fun for the first few minutes, and then there's a "We Want Wrestling" chant by like a section of the crowd, and then Ciampa, he like tells everybody to be quiet, and he's like, I worked for WWE. It's the Ease Entertainment. And then he gets in the ring, and then Mark Haskins is like, hey, I work for Progress. This is Progress. So that got a really good pop from the crowd too. So at that point, it was like, okay, Mark Haskins is the good guy. Ciampa's the evil guy from WWE, the sports entertainer guy. So I guess the dynamic was established at that point. But after that, like I said, or like you said, it was great from that point. Anything stick out to you from this match particularly?
Ciampa's running knee on the outside.
Who? Oh, yeah. That was like when he set Haskins on the chair and then did it.
Yes. They did that multiple times during this show.
Yeah. Yeah, they're big into like fighting in the crowd and stuff like that.
Oh, he was hanging upside down, Haskins was at one point, and hit the running knee.
Yeah.
Off the top rope.
Yeah, yeah. That was brutal. It was like a instant switch in personality because he went from banter and comedy like to being just psychotic, which he's the psycho killer. That's like his theme song too and all that. So maybe that was the intention, that he was just like an instant personality change, which I guess, if that's their intention, that was a good story on their part. But then we got a lot of good strikes. I mean, Mark Haskins, he's an MMA guy, so he started all these kicks and knees, and got a lot of submissions in this match. Sharpshooter from Haskins. There's one point where Haskins goes for a tope through the middle rope, but does like a fake out. Ciampa goes like to the adjacent side, and then Haskins follows him and does a tope over the top rope. There's one point, I think it was Ciampa did a front suplex onto Haskins, like into the ring post, which looks pretty brutal. Yeah,
I saw that. That was one of the other spots I think I remember from that match really standing out. And he did an air raid crash onto a chair too.
Ooh,
Ciampa
yeah.
did.
And it's like a basketball court type of floor. I couldn't tell if he went through the chair or on the floor. Either way, it couldn't have been pleasant. But got pretty brutal when they got to the outside. And back in the ring, lots of crazy strikes and reversals. You got Ciampa throwing forearms, and then Haskins will come back with a kick. So they kind of go back and forth like that. Haskins locks in a triangle, but Ciampa fights out of it, hits a suplex GTS, and then a Project Ciampa, which is like a power bomb into a backbreaker for a 2 count, which was impressive. And then goes for the Project Ciampa again, but Haskins evades it, hits a Death Valley driver, and makes the pin. Ciampa kicks out at 2, but Haskins transitions right into a flipping armbar, I guess, which is
like
I think
Fujiwara's, right?
Yeah, but it's like he like flips over him, so his belly's facing the sky, and it's like what Ciampa, I think, was his original finisher, at least in WWE. Puts him in it a few times because Ciampa keeps fighting out of it, but the third time Haskins locks it in and captures both arms and forces Ciampa to submit. So yeah, once they kicked it into gear, I thought this match was great.
Yeah, like it was kicking. It was, yeah, once they kicked it in high gear, like you said, they kicked all of the asses pretty much.
Yeah.
And I like the different styles we saw more so from so we saw Haskins with the MMA style, and then Ciampa's always been kind of much more stiff worker than for a WWE guy. He's much more stiff than usual.
Yeah. How do you think Ciampa here compares with his current kind of style?
I think I like Ciampa now better than I did then.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least let's go back 2 years ago. That was like 3 years ago. 3 years ago was peak Ciampa, I think.
Yeah. Stuff with Gargano, stuff with like when he was NXT champion the first time, pretty much that whole reign. Yeah, that's really when he came into his own as a character, for sure. But in ring,
he had the abs too.
Oh man, the abs, the baby oil, the beard, all of it. That was great. So after the match, so Haskins wins, and Haskins grabs a mic after the match, and he's like, "I don't care who you are, where you've been, or where you're going. Don't come into my home and fuck with me or these people ever again." And Ciampa's like, "All right, fair enough." And then they shake.
Like, damn, man.
It really sunned him in the middle of the ring there. But I guess whatever, he's in his home. So that made Haskins look like $1 million because he like easy sympathy with the crowd. The crowd's all behind him. Had a badass match, got the win. So really good match for Haskins, who's coming off the last chapter. He was in the main event for the world title, and he lost that match, but he's definitely got more momentum at this point now. So. But the Ciampa grabs a mic and he's like, "Hey, I may not be back, but progress is my home away from home." So he kind of leaves with the sympathy from the crowd too. So it's kind of a weird, like he started face, then went heel, then went face. So it's kind of, I guess his stay there is pretty temporary. So I guess it doesn't matter.
He did a double turn.
He really big showed the shit out of the show.
Well,
it's Ciampa.
That doesn't work.
It's
the Ciampa show tonight, y'all.
Yeah, they could work. Well, it's Tommaso. Yeah, that could be something. That could be something. Hey, somebody edit a remix, and then we'll send it into the dub.
Yeah, it needs to be his new theme song moving forward. Get him away from the Miz.
Yes, absolutely.
Let him be his own guy.
Put him with the Big Show. I mean, let him be his own guy is what I meant. Yeah. Well, I guess the second half of the show. First match, we got Marty Scurll versus Flash Morgan Webster. What are your thoughts on Marty Scurll? I feel like he's kind of a divisive guy. I mean, speaking out stuff aside, I guess outside of that.
Yeah, I feel like he's a pretty good professional wrestler outside of all that, which you can say honestly about a lot of these guys on the show, because you realize you look at a lot of these guys on the show, it's like, yep, he was called out on speaking out, he was called out on speaking out, all that. But besides that, Scurll's a really good professional wrestler. He's nothing like incredibly flashy. I feel like his character is he's more character driven than he is actually like wrestling driven.
Yeah.
Like he's a really good character. His wrestling it's very, I don't know how to say, British style pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he could definitely like kick it in high gear when he wants to, but yeah, I agree. He's definitely more of a character than anything else.
He's very grounded. He's not gonna do anything super flashy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Outside of his like normal like transition, like the wrestling early in the match, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, at this point,
thoughts?
Yeah, Marty Scurll. I like Marty Scurll. He's yeah. I mean, obviously, I wish he'd be a better human being, but yeah, I enjoy watching him in the ring. I think his character translates pretty well. I mean, as far as like the finger snapping and the chain wrestling and all that stuff, I think it all meshes pretty well. I think this match with Morgan Webster was solid. They're at this point. So Jimmy Havoc was like the big heel for the first 20 chapters, basically. And Havoc just lost the Progress Championship a few chapters ago, and he's kind of had a babyface turn to the last chapter. So they're at this point where I guess they're trying to establish the new top heel, and it seems like Marty Scurll is entering that slot because at the last chapter. So are you familiar with Chris Travis at all?
No.
So he was in a tag team. Project Ego. He got stomach cancer, and eventually he like beat it, came back, had a match at the last chapter against Marty Scurll, And it's like, oh, he just beat cancer. We're gonna have a good exhibition match. Well, at the end of the match, Marty Scurll just brutally beats the shit out of him, puts him in the chicken wing, kicks him in the stomach, kicks him in the cancer, and they carry him out. It's a whole thing. And then a few weeks after that, his cancer came back, and then he ends up passing away a few months later. So,
oh my God.
pretty intense. And Marty Scurll, I guess he's trying to take credit for he didn't say like, oh, I gave him the cancer back or whatever, but
I killed the guy.
Yeah. it's something. But yeah, he's dastardly at this point, to say the least.
He's the villain.
You know what? He really put it out there in front of me, and I didn't take it seriously, but I guess he's the villain. But he's in a match with Morgan Webster here. And Morgan Webster, who won the last Natural Progression Series. And when you win that tournament, you get a title match at some point. But Webster hasn't gotten his title match yet, so I don't know what they're waiting on there. But match is solid. You got Webster with his normal offense. If you see him on NXT UK, you pretty much know what to expect from him.
He had this cool little flipping senton he had. Special brew, they called it.
Yeah.
I got to say this about Webster real quick. Flash Morgan Webster. I think he was born in the wrong era.
Yeah.
Because he looks like he would fit in it with the Beatles.
Yeah.
He looks like a Beatle.
Do you happen to know what a mod is? Because he's the mod father. So it's like, I think that's like tied into the Beatles somehow, maybe.
I don't understand that really, but
I don't know anything about anything, so I could be totally off. But
well, I'm not up with the lingo from these kids these days.
Yeah. Normally I have a British person on and they school me on it, but just got stupid ass Skylar here.
Dumbass. Hey. Dumbass.
But yeah, because Webster comes out with his helmet, because he's a mod. I guess mods have helmets. And Marty grabs it, like, to start wrestling. Marty grabs his helmet, throws it at him, and then the ref gets distracted by it, and he pokes him in the eye. Then, like, Marty will go outside, and he, like, unties the ring skirt and throws it off. So the ref goes out there to tie it back. Like, doesn't the ref have more things to be concerned about than tying on the ring skirt? But he gets distracted by
he's about as big as dumbass as AEW officials.
Yeah. He's Aubrey Edwardsing the shit out of this match.
Rick Knox.
Oh, man. Jim Ross lets him have it every time. But,
yeah.
We get some umbrella chokes. Really, the story here is Marty Scurll just trying to do every heel tactic in the book. Morgan Webster goes up to the top to try to go for the 450 splash. Marty grabs his jacket, throws it on him, and then pushes him off and hits a superplex. We got submissions, or counters and submissions, a chicken wing into a crossface, into a cattle mutilation, but Webster fights out, but gets his fingers broken. And then Marty, like, finagles his way around the ref to hit Webster with 2 low blows. Rolls him up with his feet on the ropes. So literally everything he could do as a heel, and gets the win that way with that roll up. So
yeah. Well, we learned after this match that Flash Morgan Webster no longer could have kids.
I guess not. Really took a beating.
His nuts took a big beating.
He has several testicles at this point now.
Well, thank goodness Marty didn't use the umbrella on the nuts.
Yeah. Trying to think what would be worse, an umbrella or a foot. Maybe that's an experiment we need to do, but
or a foot umbrella.
There we go. Now we're thinking. See, these are the ideas.
Like one of those umbrellas you put on the fruity drinks.
See, I don't think that would hurt if you got hit in the balls, unless you got poked in them.
Well, if it's sharp.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point. I never really thought about it that way.
Stabbing motion.
Well, nobody was stabbed in this match, but otherwise, any other thoughts on it?
Oh, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't mind the cheating really, because they're trying to establish the character more than anything. He's the villain, so he's going to do every possible cheating tactic there is to get a win, and so it worked here. Morgan Webster didn't lose anything really here. Not that I'm like up on progress or progress.
I don't know either.
Whatever you call it. I feel like Morgan didn't lose anything here because literally Skrull had to use every single kind of cheating tactic to win. So I thought Morgan looked pretty good here. Morgan Webster looked pretty good here, though.
Yeah, and apparently it was his first loss ever in Progress, so it really took everything to accomplish that. And I think because Marty Skrull also has been on a bit of a losing streak as well, so it kind of represented the desperation on Marty's part to get the win here. So solid storytelling there. And then Marty grabs the mic after the match because he's the villain. He's been the villain for a while, but it had been just kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing. He still like was played to the crowd. He was kind of not really a babyface, not really a heel. He's kind of just Marty, the villain. It's fun. But he's really trying to drive the point home that, hey, I call myself the villain, but it's not just a gimmick. I'm in real life, I'm a piece of shit. Which, in hindsight, I guess
we learn later. Yep, you're kind of a piece of shit.
Not a gimmick, I suppose. But yeah, but then
now he's in Puerto Rico.
Is he? What's Skrull doing nowadays?
I think he's in Puerto Rico wrestling for the CWC, which is, I think, for Carlos Colon's old company.
Is he going to end up wrestling Ric Flair?
God, please no.
Did you see that? How Flair and Carlos Colon got into a thing?
Please,
after his last match.
For the love of God. No.
No. One more match, Nate. Just one more.
How many times do we have to tell you, old man?
Lots. Until he wants to die in the ring. He won't be satisfied until he dies in the ring.
Gosh. Can we just give it up?
But speaking of dying in the ring, Ciampa comes out wanting to kill Marty Skrull. Marty scurries. Marty scurries.
Marty scurries. T-shirt.
That would be a good gimmick. He just runs away from his opponents and gets counted out every match. But I guess they eventually they announce that it's going to be Marty versus Ciampa at the next chapter. So I guess Tommaso's not quite done yet. So that's a thing that happened.
Oh, you have that to look forward to next.
Should be a good one. They're really building up Ciampa here as a world beater. So
he's a psycho killer.
That's what they say. The Sicilian psychopath. This Tommy Champs.
I like that nickname better.
Yeah, it's kind of like cute, and I don't know if that's what he's going for, but
Italians, so you kind of have
to right?
Yeah. Well, some Italians are psychopaths, though.
Yeah. Shout out Frank from Last Minute. But after that, we got an 8-man tag team match. The London Riots and the Sumerian Death Squad versus The Origin. So the Death Squad, of course, the team of Michael Dante and Tommy End, a.k.a. Malachi Black. So chaos, I guess, would be how to describe this.
There was no structure here. Zero structure.
It was very much a street fight. It wasn't built as a street fight, but goddamn it was a street fight.
Could I give you kind of a summation of this match, pretty much?
Please do, because I don't know how to sum this up.
Okay, so this is what I saw. Chaos. Mm-hmm. Everyone get their shit in. Let's go home.
That was, yeah. I'm looking at my notes. That's pretty much what I have too. You got people fighting in the chairs, like getting suplexed onto the chairs that are ringside that are set up. You got Rob Lynch, who is one half of the London Riots. I guess he suffered a neck injury at one of the they do these Endeavor shows, which are like kind of in between the chapters. And Lynch got Germaned on his neck at that show, and I don't think he broke his neck, but had to get carried out. So they alluded to that here because Lynch got Germaned on his neck again, but the ref calls for help. Everybody comes out backstage, like everybody, all the agents or whatever, they carry him out. And then as he's like on the stage, which is like elevated, Ligero follows him and beats on Lynch as he's injured, trying to get carried out. But Rob Lynch regenerates. He fights back and he picks up Ligero over his head, tosses him off the stage onto everybody else.
Ligero didn't even no one caught him really.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah, he's not one of those better people either. So
Yeah, you could say that about. Well, I guess it's only like 2 of them in this match, but which is a good percentage. So, so you got like Tommy End and Nathan Cruz fighting by the bar, which was
yes.
fun. Just trying to get a beer, man. Got these fucking tattooed assholes fighting over here.
You could tell End was gonna be pretty big deal, I think, during this.
Oh, dude, yeah. When you had like in the beginning of the match, when it was like James Davis, Rob Lynch, Michael Dante, and Tommy End, they were like standing shoulder to shoulder. You're like, yeah, Tommy End's the star here for sure.
Well, he has the most unique look out of any of those guys.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
His back tattoo wasn't even filled in yet.
No, he's still. I mean, that dude gets new tattoos every day. So, but yeah, but he's still like in the ring. He was still like had the skills of the Malachi Black of today. So he was fun to watch. But yeah, like you said, everybody's just getting their shit in. There's one point where, because most of the match is them just fighting all over the arena. They get back in the ring and everybody just takes turns hitting their big moves. You got a bunch of jumping knees from Tommy End. You got a Saito suplex from Michael Dante to Dave Mastiff, which is pretty impressive. Nathan Cruz hits his show stolen, which is like a fireman's carry slam. And then at some point, Michael Dante gets gangbanged in the ring.
Wait a minute, did this make Brazzers?
Shit, I might have had the wrong tab open for this one. What's up?
No, I just said, did it make Brazzers? I was like, did it make Brazzers? What other companies did it make?
All of them.
Bang Bros?
PissDaddy.com. I don't know.
Piss Daddy. It's an off-brand version of GoDaddy, just the triple X version.
Well, no, that's your OnlyFans podcast instead of Sigdaddy. It's Piss Daddy.
Piss Daddy. Whoa.
Nothing wrong with the golden shower, man. Right? Moosdorf, man.
I don't know about that. But...
Well, no pissing in this match, but I don't think it was. But Dante's in the middle. All the Origin guys are surrounding him. They can't keep him down. They go for like a 4-way splash. Like Dante's in the middle of the ring. They all like hit the ropes at the same time. I guess all hit him at the same time. I don't know logistically how that would have worked out, but Dante avoids it, and eventually all the other guys get in there to make the save. Weird finish to this match. So Dave Mastiff rolls up. So Michael Dante and Rob Lynch, who were on the same team, are bickering with each other for whatever reason. But then as they're like bickering back and forth, Mastiff just rolls up Tommy End while they're distracted and gets the quick win out of nowhere. So I guess they're building tension between the London Riots and the SDS here, which is the story. It just feels like the only reason this match existed. But
yeah, and what I'll say about the Origin, damn, they had some heat.
Yeah, they're definitely the top faction, the top heel faction at this point.
Like, I was impressed. Like, they got some real, like, normally, not normally, but there at times you don't see like these big heel factions get reactions like this, but they were getting booed out of the building.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
no one liked Zach Gibson. It pretty much looked like. So
yeah, that carried over into WWE for a while. So I guess this is the start of it.
He was in WWE. I didn't even realize that.
Zach Gibson?
Yeah, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't. So he was in NXT UK. He was, I believe, part of the Grizzled Young Veterans, first ever UK Tag Team Champions. And then they brought him over to NXT, and they didn't really do anything with him. Now they are the henchmen for Joe Gacy on NXT. And yeah, so that's a thing for whatever fucking reason.
I've never been I've watched some of Joe Gacy's, not a lot of Joe Gacy stuff, but he seems like he's the same character as he was like when he was in CZW.
I haven't seen that, but I can.
I don't know. I've watched a little bit of CZ. I've watched some CZW with him in it, and he actually had a death. Jonathan Gresham was actually involved in a death match with him at one point.
Yeah, a lot of people went through CZW more than I realized.
Adam Cole. There's just
most of
AJ
the ROH
Styles
guys
even wrestled there at certain points.
But yeah, pretty much like all the guys that came up from Ring of Honor, like they at least went through CZW for a little bit.
Like KO and El Generico, the luchador.
Yeah, whatever happened to him?
I think he's a part of it's full. It's a line, but with not some bodily fluid.
Oh, cum line?
The cum line, yes.
Is that the Nick Cannon sequel? Well, I guess with all his kids, that's something, right?
Yeah.
That could be a joke. The ingredients are there. Cum line. He has like 9 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody make that a joke.
There's somebody with. Well, they're also got to think about the Anoa'i family. There's like 800 people in it.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, Sammy's probably related somehow. Some branch.
Way down the line.
Some thin little branch on the corner here is probably fucked Nia Jax or something. I don't know. But anyways. So the origin gets
I like how we got Nia Jax somehow worked into this.
I didn't think Nia Jax was gonna come up in this discussion, I'm gonna be honest, but she did. She finds her way somehow. I'm gonna end up injured from this podcast.
Yes.
So any other thoughts on this chaotic match?
I kind of made a comment after this. I'm liking this second half of the show a lot better than the first half.
Oh yeah.
Like outside of pretty much no structure to this match outside of the brawl and then everyone getting their stuff in. Mm-hmm. I still enjoyed this a lot more than what I did in the first 3.5 matches. So I'll take this every day.
Yeah, the pacing of the show is weird. Like I said, it was just a lot of comedy and comedy. Like it's not like staggered.
It was all at once,
spread out. Yeah, it was weird. At some point, it got exhausting after a while.
They blew their load early on comedy.
They sure did. But that brings us to the main event. The Progress Championship is on the line. We got our champion, Will Ospreay, versus Paul Robinson. Whoo, doggy. So, Will Ospreay, who's in the headlines recently after getting brutally assaulted online by Kevin Nash, and Paul Robinson, who's out there somewhere doing stuff. You familiar with Paul Robinson at all?
Not really. I almost thought he was Martin Kirby for a second.
You know, they're not that far off. They're both bald.
I remember Martin Kirby, I didn't watch a lot of it, but it was WCPW.
Okay.
What Culture Pro Wrestling. Yeah.
Right.
Because they I think Ross had an obsession with him, with Martin Kirby.
Yeah.
King Ross, as I like to call him.
Of course. You got to have respect.
It's John o'clock, mother.
I'll catch WCPCW. Was it
WCPW.
WCPW. Maybe that's why they aren't a thing anymore, is because it's too hard to say.
They changed it to Defiant, I think, or something.
Yes, that's right. I knew
they
it
had
was
Kurt Angle
else.
and Cody Rhodes wrestle on that.
This is so random.
Yeah,
I guess. But So the backstory here: Will Ospreay, newish champion. He won it at Chapter 20 by beating Jimmy Havoc. Paul Robinson was like the henchman of Jimmy Havoc, and but Chapter 21, Havoc and Robinson basically broke up, and then they had a brutal street fight, which Paul Robinson weirdly won, pretty defiantly, pardon the pun. But he kicked the shit out of Jimmy Havoc. Jimmy wasn't even on the show at all, which is the first time, I think, in Progress's history that Jimmy Havoc wasn't on the show. But Paul Robinson coming out of that chapter looking dominant. And him and Ospreay have history as well. They are former partners. The Swords of Essex was their team name. And I think he said he even trained Will, which is pretty crazy. But it was several chapters ago, they were teaming together. Paul Robinson turned on Will Ospreay in the middle of a tag team match. And then later in the show, helped Jimmy Havoc to retain his title. So lots of threads and weaves and bobs in this. So
actually wasn't a bad the video package for it. Not terrible.
Yeah, they're getting better with their video packages and stuff. I mean, I think their cinematography is really good in a lot of aspects.
I was saying production value for being not a huge promotion. I thought the production value was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And the title looked really good too.
That Progress Championship is beautiful. They used to have a staff that represented their championship. It was literally 10 feet tall. It was a staff that they carried around that represented the world title. Luckily, that didn't last too long. But it did. So, but yeah. So now we're here, and the entrance, man. Paul Robinson's entrance. There was a great shot. Speaking of the camera work and stuff, that everybody's like putting up middle fingers, and it's like this image. It's like the middle fingers in the foreground, and the background, Paul Robinson comes out. It was like beautifully done. And Ospreay comes out. AC/DC, right?
Shoot the thrill.
Yeah, shoot the thrill. And hot start. Lots of brawling, lots of because like Paul Robinson, he used to be like a high flying guy, a lot of flash, but ever since he turned heel, he's wrestling in jeans, he's brawling, and kind of counteracting Will's fluid high flying and all that stuff.
Can we talk about the weight thing here?
The weight thing?
The weight, how much each of these guys weighed.
How much did they weigh again?
Robinson weighed 140 pounds. And Ospreay was only about $175, which he ended up probably gaining like 50 pounds since then.
Oh, yeah.
50 plus pounds. But Ospreay's only 22 at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely he's like progressing, because like in the early chapters, he was even skinnier than he is now. So you can kind of see the slow progression into what he is now. But lots happening in this match. What were your thoughts on it? I guess kind of your introduction to Paul Robinson, right?
I liked that he brought, so Ospreay, he's very flashy.
Mm-hmm.
He, especially at this point, and then probably the next 2 or 3 years, 3 or 4, actually more like 5 years before he kind of cools off a little bit on it.
Yeah.
But I liked Robinson bringing a different kind of style to the match, kind of more methodical, and then like he'll flip out at certain points of the match and just try to beat the living crap out of Ospreay. I liked that dynamic of that, and then Robinson being able to scout Ospreay since he's trained him and wrestled with him as a partner. I liked how they played in that dynamic as well.
Did you like Paul Robinson's loogie that he like Ospreay was on the ground and Paul Robinson just
that was like almost world record worthy.
That was disgusting.
And they rubbed it into him. I would have probably puked if I was in the ring. I'm like,
Paul Robinson.
I can take blood, like all the blood possible. Like I've seen Eddie Guerrero's like flipping gusher at Judgment Day 04. But this was like, I'm like, spit. Ugh.
It's like you can taste it when you're watching it. Oh man, yeah, and he like rubs it in. It's like, it's so gross. But...
And then he also fish hooked it and put it in his mouth at one point.
Come on, man. Paul Robinson, he's just he's like a skinhead, just not emaciated because he has some muscle mass on him, but he just looks like he gets Dobby chants a lot. He is. He's
Dobby.
fucking.
He looks like, okay. Actually, you mentioned Dobby, and then you make me think of Darby. They have very similar builds. Him and Darby Allin.
I could see it. I could see a team. Dobby and Darby. That could be money. Well, after Paul Robinson. So Paul Robinson dominates a lot at the beginning, but then Will just explodes. He's doing handspring kicks and lung blowers and hits a second rope Phoenix splash. So he's busting out all the high flying offense that he was doing in this time period. But then Paul kind of reaches this point where he gets a little desperate. So he starts dusting off his high flying stuff. He does like a crazy flipping her and like Dragon Rana, spinning DDT, a Meteora from the top rope. And
better than Sasha's.
Yeah, no, that was
like 800 times better.
Not saying much. Paul Robinson, his finisher is the stomp, but it gets countered into a powerbomb by Ospreay. It's a GTS, I think, at some point. It's like a crazy chain of moves. It's like a GTS into an Os cutter.
I was losing track, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, this was hard to take notes on. There's just a lot going on.
Like I always picked like specific points. I'm like, I can't keep up with Ospreay because he like does 800 things in about 3 seconds.
Yeah, Paul Robinson can hang too, so it was very back and forth. And Ospreay goes to the top rope to go for the 620.
6:30.
6:30. 6:30 splash, but Paul Robinson rolls out to the floor, but Ospreay just gets on the apron and does a shooting star press from the apron to the floor
That had
onto
to
Paul
have been painful on his
Robinson.
knees.
Dude, brutal on that hardwood floor.
Superhero landing's pretty tough.
Yeah, I would say so. Then in the ring, rolls him in the ring. Ospreay goes back to the top, hits a red arrow, or goes for a red arrow, but Paul Robinson gets his knees up, and then Paul, I don't even know what happened here. I know at one point, Ospreay had his feet hung up in the ropes, and then Paul Robinson hit a stomp, like an assisted stomp that looked devastating.
It looked nasty. I had to Ospreay somehow got hooked like in the second turnbuckle in his legs. And he was like prone, like hanging in a plank position, and then Robinson just comes up and just buries his head into the mat with his stomp.
Just destroyed him.
Curb stomped him.
Only gets a 2 count though. Somehow, Paul Robinson picks him up, hits the Acid Rainmaker, which is Jimmy Havoc's move. So that's alluding to that. Gets a 2 count. Will flips him off. Paul puts his finger in his mouth and bites it.
He's got a finger fetish.
He's got something. This dude has a lot of kinks. But we don't kink shame here. So lots of counters towards the end. Ospreay hits the Essex Destroyer for a 2 count, flipping DDT. Ospreay goes to the top rope to follow up, but Paul Robinson shoves the ref into the ropes, knocking Ospreay, crotching him on the top rope. But then Paul Robinson rips him down, hits a drop kick to the back of the head, goes for the stomp again, but Ospreay counters into an O'Connor roll for the win. So gets the quick win out of nowhere. Quick win. It was a longish match, but just out of nowhere win.
I think it went about 20 minutes. But I liked the finish and the aspect that Robinson was taking too long. He was milking it.
Yeah.
He milked it, and then he went for the stomp and then got caught and pinned, and then he lost his crap afterward. Just prelude.
Yeah.
This, but he, I thought this was pretty good. I think this, I'd say, overall, like full match wise, this was the best match of the night.
Yeah.
Ciampa and Haskins, their second half of the match was pretty darn good. It was the first half that kind of lacked a little bit, but no, like this, I think was overall match of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Ospreay was as much as he was great here, but he was very spotty, and his selling was kind of, I felt like it was lacking at points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he would definitely get better over the years. Like his recent stuff in New Japan is just incredible, but he's still very good here. Very good here. But like you said, Paul Robinson attacks after the bell. He will have none of this. He beats the shit out of Ospreay, attacks him from behind, goes to the outside, confronts Jim Smallman. He mugs him. He takes Smallman's credit card from his wallet, ties up Ospreay in the ropes, puts the credit card in his mouth. I guess he was going to kick it into his throat. Is that a thing people do?
I didn't know what the idea was here. I was like, okay, he's got the credit card. He's going to swipe it across his head and just try to cut him or something.
Yeah, I thought he was going to do like the webs of the fingers kind of thing, but
I was so confused. I'm like, what's the idea of him putting the credit card in his mouth? What was that alluding to?
Not sure. Well,
was he paying for his night out? Or
his mouth except chips? Yeah.
He was gonna get a prostitute or something afterward. I don't know.
Paul Robinson definitely strikes me as a guy that participates in the ladies of the evening.
Yes, the red light district, as they like to call it.
Ah, yes, or whatever it is over there. Amsterdam? I don't know. But all my knowledge of Europe is based on Eurotrip, so that's what Europe is to me.
Okay, I don't think that's very, very good though for that.
No, they're all just getting their nipples clamped, and
you got a nipple clamped.
Look, we'll discuss that after that podcast.
After dark, Sigdaddy wrestling show after dark.
Exactly, we gotta save content for that. But after this, so he has the credit card in his mouth. He's tied up in the ropes. Mark Andrews comes out to make the save. Who, if you're not keeping up with progress at this point, that might seem kind of underwhelming. He is in NXT UK, or he was, I guess. But basically, Mark Andrews, he was a very prominent part in the early 15-ish chapters of Progress. He was a former Progress champion. He won the first ever Natural Progression series. And him and Ospreay have had 2 matches in previous chapters, and Mark Andrews has won both of them. So Andrews comes out, and Andrews left a few chapters ago because he went to TNA for a little bit, and I don't know if he's still there and if he's just making a one-off appearance or what the deal is, but Andrews runs off Paul Robinson, and then he confronts Will Ospreay, and he's like, hey, you're doing great, Will, but I'm the only Triple Crown champion that Progress has ever seen. And Ospreay, you've done a lot, but you haven't beaten Mark Andrews. So basically, Mark challenges Will Ospreay to a title match at the next chapter. Ospreay accepts. So that sets up the main event for chapter 23. So, yeah, a little fun little aftermath, I suppose.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. I thought, well, for really, if you've heard he got a really good reaction, Andrews did, even though it may have been a little underwhelming.
Yeah, well, no, yeah. At the time, Mark Andrews was a big deal. I'm just saying, like, if you look at it in today's lenses, like, he's been in NXT UK doing a whole lot of nothing for years, but...
And then he's gone. He's got released, too.
Yeah, unfortunately, because he's another super talented dude, too, so...
A lot of these guys on the end up on NXT UK are super talented, then just get lost, and now it's going to be NXT Europe, which whatever that's going to be.
Yeah, I'm still confused as to how that's going to be different from what they were doing with NXT UK, but...
What, are they just going to go all over Europe?
But they already did that, though. Like, they have people... Mako Satomura was their champion from Japan, so it's like...
How does that make... I'm so... What? Huh?
It doesn't make any sense.
Mako...
So...
I hope Mako becomes NXT Women's Champion, honestly.
I do, too. I would love to see her, like... Even, like, main roster with women up there. Io Shirai.
Even though she's, like, 40, she is, like... Good.
She was wrestling on Nitro in 1995, and she's still one of the best out there. So who knows? And I know she shows up in Progress at some point. Waiting for that, but I'm pretty sure she does. I could be wrong. But yeah, man, chapter 22. That brings that to a close. Any other thoughts on the show? Anything we missed?
I thought this was pretty good once it got into like the wrestling portion of it. The comedy stuff. A lot of that just kind of went over my head. I know wrestling is a variety show. And so comedy has to be intertwined in that somehow. I felt like at points during this show, they leaned too far into it. Like just a little too into it. If they would have maybe reeled it back a little bit and maybe staggered out the comedy, because it was like all in your face at one point at all. Yeah. At the first 3 matches, like, why are we getting all this comedy at one time?
Right.
The geezers thing, I was like, I cannot take this. I can't take this.
Because it's like everybody, I'm watching it and everybody seems to be enjoying it. I'm like, come on, guys.
They're all drunk too, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was sober watching this. Maybe that was my mistake.
That's like watching comedy wrestling drunk. It's like being at a swim pool and listening to dance hall music drunk. Right. It's like, if you're sober, that music is garbage. But if you're drunk, that stuff's good. That's actually funny, and that's actually okay. I can vibe to this. This is the same thing with comedy wrestling.
Yeah. It can be done. It can be done well, but I don't know if it necessarily hits a mark on this one. But although the slip and slide was fun. More slip and slides in wrestling. Let's start that hashtag.
Yeah, lube it up.
You have no. If I didn't want you to plug your stuff, I would have just ended the recording right there.
Lube it up, baby.
Well, speaking of lube, you better have it ready when you turn on Sigdaddy's wrestling show. Thank you, Skylar, once again for checking out the show, coming on, talking about it. Where can everybody find you in Sigdaddy's wrestling show?
You can find Sigdaddy's wrestling show. You can find it on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok at Sigdaddy Wrestle. You can also find it on Instagram at sigdaddy.wrestle. TikTok so far has mostly been used for the Micro Brawler collection, so that's going to be
hell yeah.
I got more coming to that. I just haven't done it in a while. Have a couple new ones in Lex Luger and Ric Flair. Speaking of old guys, teasing that.
Love
but
it.
no, you can find Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, the iHeartRadio app, Amazon Music, pretty much wherever you can find your podcast, you can find my show. Do a lot of variety on the show, including we do up-to-date topics. Like most recently, we did why not up to date, but we do why something was so great. Like the last episode we did was why 2016 was WWE's last great year. That was our last episode. We also did Triple H, King of Creative for WWE, talking about the potential and what changes he's made already. We also do some retro TNA pay-per-view reviews. So we go back and watch some old TNA wrestling, as I like to call it. Slammiversary 06 we've covered. We also covered Sacrifice 2010. And then we've also covered TNA Destination X 2005, which, I'll be honest, those are not the best TNA shows, so we're hoping to bring in.
Wasn't that, was that when DDP was in the main event?
Yes, that was DDP's last singles pay-per-view match.
That show was a bag of shit. I covered that show too, and that was not the greatest.
It was tough. I was like, man, this is awful.
Didn't Shocker get a title match?
Oh God, there was also a debut. Monty Brown had a match with, I can't remember what this guy's, Triton, and it was I was like, what in the world is this?
Oh man, I had Frank from Last Minute Podcast. We covered that show a while ago, and he brought up how Triton has the tiniest head in proportion to his body, and you'll never look at him the same way.
It was the worst debut I think I've ever seen for somebody.
He never had another singles match after that. They're building him up for a month, and then he just had a dud of a match, and they're like, you're in a tag team for a month, and then they fired him. So
yeah, Monty Brown tried his damnedest there, and it did not work out. But yeah, we do a bunch of different content, just a variety of stuff, talking about a multitude of topics, past and present. Lots of fun we have on Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show. Jo, my broadcast partner, actually, it's my assistant to the podcast host, as I like to call him.
Nice.
So
bringing it back to the office.
Yes, we're bringing it back to the office. He's the assistant to the podcast host, which is myself, being the egotistical bastard I am.
So you're Michael Scott.
Yes.
Or are you David Brent, right?
No. I am Beyonce always.
Once again, thank you to Sky Guy from Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show for joining me on this beautiful, beautiful episode. Go check out the Siggy at Sigdaddy Wrestle on Twitter. All of his info in the description below. Go check out Sigdaddy's Wrestling Show wherever you listen to podcasts. Good bloke over there. Lovely, lovely fella. And apronbump.com for all my stuff. Buy a shirt, rate the podcast, review the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the video a like, why don't you? Ring the bell for notifications. Give a 630 splash to the subscribe button. Am I right or am I wrong, fellas? I think that's all. I think that about covers it. Thank you guys once again for listening. Big smooches all around. I'm hard.
Yeah. And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing I guess. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is.